This episode of In Defense of Ska is brought to you by The Odd Advantage. The Odd Advantage are a ska-punk collective from Southern California that started in 2015. This 10-member unsigned band is from Hemet, California. We're listening to Mystical Herb. It's their first studio recording. It was done at Pot of Gold Recording with David Irish. You can catch them August 27th with 2:30, Captain Smooth Talk, and the Busted Uglies at the Cedar Center in Lancaster, California. If you would like to advertise with us, email us at indefenseofska@gmail.com.
There were a lot of great ska-punk bands in the UK in the early to mid-2000s, and many were on the Household Records label. Within these groups, none were more insane than Lightyear. Maybe not musically so much. They were a good, catchy ska-punk band, but their shows were total chaos. And once off stage, the chaos continued with pranks, stunts, and never-ending shenanigans. Today, we talk to the band's lead singer and ringleader, Chaz Palmer Williams, and he tells us many stories about the band's good old days. Also, Lightyear will be performing their 2 full-length albums front to back on February 24th and February 25th, 2023 at the New Cross Inn in London. 1 album per evening.
Of all the bands that I toured with over in the UK, Lightyear, by far, the craziest one.
Oh, yeah.
By a lot. Like, you never really felt safe around Lightyear. And like musically, they were pretty normal. Like, they were just like a good ska punk band. But just like their persona, not even live, off stage too, just like unhinged.
I love that anytime we've interviewed a band from that scene or a band from the US that had played in England during that time, you would just be like, okay, give me your best Lightyear story. And they'd be like, oh, I got one right now. And it's insane. And it's a different story than everyone else has said so far.
Yeah, that's the best part. Everyone has like a perfect one, like right off the top of their head. Like you can just say, hey, tell me your Lightyear story. And they're like, oh, okay, let's go. It's never like, oh, let me think about it. It's like, yep, here you go.
And now finally we have Chaz giving us
straight from the horse's mouth.
I want to read a message I got. It says, "Hi dudes. Let's do an interview. We can talk about Lightyear and penises and world peace." Do you know who sent that message?
Was it me?
It was you.
I think I had a few beers. I think, but we can, like in any order.
That's our outline.
That's all we have.
Yeah, I think it was. I heard the Big D one, and I was like, yeah, man, like I want to fucking get on this, and I want to, talk to Adam, and it's been a while, and yeah, it was just I was excited about it, and always excited about penises, so.
Yeah, every single time we've brought up the UK ska punk scene from the 2000s, Lightyear gets brought up, like enthusiastically so.
That's cool, man. That's cool. Yeah, I think they were crazy times over here, and we fucking toured a lot, man. Like we did thousands of shows, like a lot of bands did as well, but I was just thinking about it before, we started, and I was thinking, God, every band that we were listening to, like, like Link 80, Slow Gherkin, Mustard Plug, Real Big Fish, we were like getting calls going, do you want to go on tour with them? And it was just insane, because it was like, these were like our, what literally diving out of our musical collection straight on tour. So it was bringing back some good memories.
I read that at one point you guys were touring like 300 dates a year. Is that true?
Yeah, nearly. I think it was like 286 or something like that. We did a few years like that. But the strange thing was, like, loads of, like, I mean, I'm sure Capdown did something like that as well. And if you think about how many bands on like Household Name Records and sort of ska and ska-punk bands, all those guys, they were all doing maybe not quite as much as that, but if you were thinking like how many shows that was in a year, and people were going to a lot of the shows, it was a pretty strong scene, really.
What was life like for you at that point? Like, what was your living situation like?
Well, I mean, I kind of like, I spoke to my girlfriend about it recently, and she was like, "Where do you live?" I was like, "Well, just on couches, and like, I was like, my mum's couch most of the time, and other people's couch." And she was like, "Well, were you like homeless then?" I was like, "Well, not homeless, you know what I mean? Because people who are homeless are fucking having a much harder time than what I was, but." I wasn't like, I didn't have a house, you know what I mean? And I didn't really have a room for a lot of the time. So I was just, it was like 300 days. It's like, where, what's the point of getting renting out a place? So we just lived in the van really and just kept going and touring, which I'm sure a lot of bands did. But.
Was there a point where you had an apartment and you had all these dates lined up and you're like, you know what? I think it's time to move out of the apartment and...
No, I just didn't live anywhere until Lightyear split up, and then I was like, oh shit, because we did this particularly difficult tour in Europe, and I think my mental health at the time was like quite bad, and I didn't know it, because no one talked about mental health back then, and I was just like, so when something clicks and you're like, I can't do this anymore, I was like, I can't do 300 shows or whatever, and so I kind of left, and then. Suddenly I was like, shit, what do I do? Where do I go? Where do I live? I haven't got a home. And it was all crazy, because you know what it was like back then. It was like you were married to your band. You know what I mean? It was like, that was your whole world really. So yeah, it was crazy. It kind of just this vacuum. So that's when I eventually got a house down in Brighton. So yeah, well, a room. Yeah.
When you were touring 300 days a year, how much of that was outside of the UK?
Not enough.
Yeah, because when I think about bands like ME330 and Let's Go Bowling, who did the same thing for a number of years, it's like they were in the US, and the US is like, you can do a 2 to 3 month consecutive tour and not hit any of the same places at all. But the UK is a lot smaller.
Yeah, I just I don't know. It just seemed to be that scene. People would come, and more people would come each time. So it was, and then we would play Reading and Leeds. So we were definitely building a following, which was strange. But again, you kind of get like, you need that new thing, don't you? You need the new scene. You need a new city. And going around Europe, we toured Europe a load of times, and that was always super exciting because you play in front of like different countries. Like back then. I remember playing Vienna and what's that big squat place in Vienna called? The big one. You must know it. I think.
I remember playing that. I don't know the name of it though.
Yeah. It's like, so it's basically a really, really well run squat that's like fucking massive. It's really good. And we were playing there, and it was when the internet has kind of just started, and someone shouted for a song, and it blew my mind. You know what I mean? I was like, how do you know our music? Like, we haven't got anything distributed over here. And they were like, the internet. And that, and I was like, the internet, wow. And that just stoked me out, and when you see people sort of like singing your words in different countries, it's just that buzz. So, I think bands survive on excitement and opportunities and phone calls coming in as opposed to like food, if you know what I mean. It's like, you can kind of like scrounge things out of bins and stuff like that. But if you get that phone call going, oh, by the way, you've got the support on this like tour around Germany or something, that's when, you keep going. So yeah, we did a load outside, but we never got to America, man. And that really kind of, that just never happened. And that's something I always wanted to do and we didn't do.
There's still time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, organising our lot is very, very difficult because they've all got kids and jobs, and and then Neil's just Neil. He's like crazy dude off like working on super yachts and then like diving and all sorts of stuff. So trying to lock him down, but I would love to. So maybe
are Neil's feet doing better?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he nearly died on that last tour. So yeah, that was pretty fucked up.
Yeah, why don't you tell people the story we're talking about here?
Yeah, sorry. So Neil is our trumpet player and guitar player, and kind of like just a real amazing guy. Like he just looks like this small bald dude, and you wouldn't really think he's got like this angelic voice, and he's like an amazing musician and songwriter. And he left when Lightyear split up. Well, when we kind of split up the first time, he moved to Thailand, and then he started teaching diving. So and he's like an amazing dive instructor over there, and he's very modest, but he saved like 3 people's lives underwater and stuff like that. It's insane. But he didn't wear shoes for 10 years. He's kind of almost like a Buddhist. He doesn't own anything, like nothing at all. And didn't wear shoes, and came on the last tour in the UK still not wearing any shoes. and I was like, mate, you're not in Thailand. He's like, fuck it, whatever, it's fine. And then we were kind of in Glasgow, and it was after the show. His family are from Glasgow. And I just saw him walking off up the street, like on a night out in Glasgow after the gig, and his feet just looked massive, like some sort of like red Shrek, and I was like, dude, they don't look right. He's like, oh fuck it, it's fine. My cousin's got like a bag of drugs. It'll be all right. Everything will be all right. And I was like, I'm not sure that's how it works, mate. And then like maybe like 2 days later, I looked at him and I was like, dude. Like that, and they were just going red and like all up his legs, and I was like, and he's like, no, it's fine. And then we went to Birmingham, and he started to get really shaky and stuff, and so I ended up going to accident emergency at Birmingham Hospital, and at that point he was like shaking and in a ball, like put his head down, and he was like, kind of quivering, and I was like, fucking, it's like 20 minutes to stage time, and so yeah, he got sepsis basically, and it traveled from his toes up to his groin. I think it was like 86% infection, like rate sort of thing. And then he was on a drip for two weeks and had to like drop out of the tour. But now he doesn't even talk about it. It's just how he is. He's just this crazy dude who just doesn't really give a shit about anything. Yeah.
Is that the sort of thing where that transmits from like, walking on dirt or something, and there's just like something that infects you?
Yeah. So it's like blood poisoning, really. So yeah, he just got an infection from like a cut or something. But I mean, I got into detail with him about what happened, and he said, well, he was in Bangkok airport and he had a pair of shoes, but they broke, so he just chucked them in a bin. and
get rid of them.
Yeah, he just got rid of them. I was like, well, did you not think to get any more? He's like, well, it would be a waste of money, wouldn't it? Right, okay. And then he just travelled from Bangkok to Derby barefoot, and then carried on with the tour. So yeah, along the way he must have picked up an infection, and because he didn't really get on antibiotics early on, he got sepsis, and nearly died, man. So it was he wouldn't, I don't know, he's very he downplays everything, and but yeah, he very much nearly got in a lot of trouble. But it's Neil, and he's good now, so it's all good.
The interesting thing about that to me is that, I mean, Lightyear famously got naked a lot, but I remember you guys always wearing shoes still. Like you guys would be butt naked, but still with shoes on. I guess, I mean, living in Thailand changes that.
I know. Maybe he's gone the other way around. Yeah, he's just thought, that's stupid. I wear clothes but not shoes. But yeah, I think with that was, we always like knew where we had a little plan. We always had a plan, so we would know where our clothes are, and I guess the shoes were for like running away if the police came or something. So you can't always run, but I mean, I remember like running through Derby city centre naked with Neil, and we ran through a Chinese restaurant, and the guy came out with a meat cleaver, and it was like a film, and but we all had our backpacks on and stuff. Saying that, actually, now I think about it, Neil didn't. Neil only had shoes on, and then he got arrested, and then we had to pick him up the next day, and he went on tour in one of those boiler suits. There's like what they give you in jail if you don't have any clothes. It's just a big like a forensic crime scene.
Yeah.
one of those things. So we just wore that, and we picked him up from jail or whatever, and from the police station, and we were like, right, do you want to, go and get your tour stuff? And he was just like, well, have you got my trumpet? And we were like, yeah. And he's like, cool, well, I'll just go in this then. And and we were like, what do you mean? He's just like, well, this is fine, like I'll just go in this. So we just went on tour in his forensic suit and a pair of Speedos I think he had in the van. So yeah, he's quite unique. But yeah, there was a lot of nakedness, and yeah, we celebrated our bits.
So the plan with the clothing was just they go in the backpack goes on the back, and then just head out naked.
Yeah, because I think the police kind of like, over here we're just like, we would say it's a stag do as well. We'd just be like, oh, it's a stag do. And if we got caught, and a lot of the time they would just go, okay, just put your clothes back on, and but this time they didn't with Neil. They actually gave him a caution, and I think he actually got arrested. But that whole naked thing was like, I think it was weird because it was just sort of like, it wasn't like a jock thing,
Mm-hmm.
like it wasn't like, over here a lot of like rugby lads are like, great, let's get naked and drink our piss and stuff. And I think with Lightyear it was just for me it was like I was bullied quite a lot as a kid about the way I looked and stuff, and for me to like just get out of that on stage with Lightyear, that was what that was about. Really, it was about me just going, I don't fucking care, I'm not ashamed of myself and my body, and I just don't care. Do you know what I mean? It was just really liberating, and I think thankfully most people didn't take that the wrong way, but I think nowadays it wouldn't go down as well, I think.
Sure. Yeah.
Was that the story with Neil? Was that the only time you had an actual run-in with cops?
Oh no, there was there was loads of times. Yeah, man, loads of times. But they were always okay. And I think if they just realize you're not violent and you're not wasted and you're coherent and you can talk yourself out of a situation, I think that like that they're pretty decent. I remember not too long ago actually. Do you know Giles from loads of bands over here? But it was who's the singer? Amazing singer, girl singer from I can't remember now. My memory's shot. But anyway, these guys from the States, and they were touring, and we basically put a firework up my friend's bum, and then sent him off down the street with on a skateboard with this firework coming out of his arse. Laura, what's her name? Laura
Stevenson?
Yeah, Laura Stevenson. Yeah. So her and I think her maybe partner that was on guitar at the time. And and he went down the street with his firework up his arse, and they were going like, what the fuck are you doing? And then he came back, and there was a knock on the door, and they opened the door, and they're like, oh my God, it's the police. And we answered the door, and they were like, we've had reports of something going on here. And we were like, oh, sorry, we were just going down the street like naked with a firework up our arse. And they were like, oh, okay, cool. We thought someone was stealing a car. And we were like, no, we were just doing that. And they were like, okay, have a nice night, And Laura Stevenson was like, what just happened? Like, oh my God, they're so cool. I'm not saying all the police in England are cool, because they're not. But again, I think they look at it and they think, do we really want to do the paperwork?
Yeah. You really want to have to write out like, oh, we arrested this person because they had a firework up their ass and they were going down the street on the sidewalk naked.
Exactly, yeah. And they might have to touch us as well. So
you got to make your crime embarrassing to write about if you're going to do a crime.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so you live in Brighton now.
No, so I lived in Brighton for 10 years.
Okay.
And then moved back to Derby, and then kind of was like, actually, this isn't how it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then moved to Falmouth in Cornwall. So that's where I live now.
Okay. What was the venue in Derby?
The Victoria Inn.
Why was the ceiling over that stage so low?
Well, it was asbestos.
Was it?
Yeah, nobody wanted to touch it or like fix it. So I think it was just like, let's just leave it how it is. But that place was like my church, as a kid. Like I was quite lost and you know, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and then started going there and playing in Lightyear, and yeah, it was just the most punk rock venue. And that, you know, Andy, the owner, he was in an old punk band called Concrete Socks.
Okay.
And he was just like, do what you fucking want to do, you know, get naked, jump off the, you know, barriers, like just do whatever you want to do. It's punk rock, and, you know, it's your venue as much as my venue, you know?
Yeah.
And dude, man, I was just thinking all the bands that I saw there and got to play with and stuff. It was just insane, you know, like just so many different bands like Promise Ring, you know, Slow Gherkin. You know, we toured with Slow Gherkin, and that changed our lives, like pretty much. Just so many bands, like all the bands that we were listening to, but also like loads of other bands, like Oasis played there, and you know, there was like 3 shows a night there, and the scene was just so vibrant.
Yeah, it was a really, really small room. About how many people did it hold?
I think officially, like all of them, probably about 100, but unofficially, I think it probably goes like 150.
Yeah. But I remember AFI, when they were getting really big, they played a show there, which blew my mind.
Yeah, like I think Sick of It All, Dropkick Murphys. You know, like I put a post up on Facebook recently going, oh, can anyone remember like what bands played there? And the list went on for 8 days, you know, like because people from other scenes, not just the punk scene, started getting involved, and it was just such an incredible place, really. You know, your feet would just have to like stick to the floor, and you know, it was so grimy, man. You know, I have to have like a tetanus jab to get in, but it was awesome. Yeah. Because I mean, you played there a bit, didn't you? I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And Chaz, you're pretty tall, right?
Yeah, about 6'2", nearly.
Yeah. So you had to have put your head through that ceiling, also.
Yeah. Oh man, like heads went through, feet went up there. I think you know, there's a sound engineer stuck up there from like 2001, probably. You know,
just lives in there now.
Yeah, it just lives in there. Yeah, it was a dive, but it was our dive, you know, and you know what I mean? It's like if you had no money and you'd just be like, oh, just go in. Don't worry about it. Just go in. And he would just hook you up, and it was such great memories, man. Like, it shaped my life, really.
Can you remember like maybe a favorite show that you saw there?
Man, I think there was just so many. Like it's really hard to say. I mean, Big D and the Kids Table, like, are our sort of, you know, bros, and like we toured with them a lot, and I think some of those shows were, because we were friends, it was just like anything goes, you know what I mean? And so the shows were wild. God, I mean, Groovy Ghoulies, Suicide Machines, the Queers, I don't know, like it was just every week, you know. So I don't think I could say a favorite show. I would say like it was probably 30 shows, you know. Yeah. It was anytime, like, you know, it was kind of like, oh, there's a US band coming, let's go, you know. Like I think the first time, like for example, Groovy Ghoulies, I didn't know who they were, you know what I mean. It was like, oh, they're on Lookout, let's go, we're going, you know what I mean. Those days when it was like you didn't need to know what they sounded like, you just needed to know the record label. So it was like that, and every show like that was just incredible. And you know, like when you guys came through Link 80, you know, it was that was a huge thing, because I don't know, you were kind of like not like a cult status, but it was that kind of like that, I guess, the mixture of the hardcore and the ska, you know, really everybody was like super into that, and you know, that was an exciting show. But yeah, it was just so many top shows. Can't even think of one.
You said jumping off the barriers. Now, if I remember right, there was like a handrail at the back of the room, kind of. Do you remember this?
Yeah, there was kind of like a weird wooden like beam that like that didn't do anything.
Right.
And then on stage, it was really low, wasn't it? And you know, people sort of flopped into the crowd, and then, I mean, I remember the PA dropping on everybody once, and you know, like everyone was like, "Oh my god, like fucking hell!" Like, and then everyone, you know, when you're young, you're sort of like, "Oh my god, is everyone okay? Yes, they're great. Yay, that was amazing.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep going. Like, don't check, you know, don't put something in to like make sure it doesn't happen again.
Sure,
just shout hooray and carry on." And yeah, I remember that happening, and there was dogs in there and all sorts of stuff.
And then, if I'm remembering right, the pub in the front had pictures, like framed pictures, up on the walls of all the bands, right?
Yeah. So that had like the library of all the bands that have played there over the years, and when it closed, everybody tried to get them, and we're not sure where they went. But there was like so many bands up there, and we could go and look at everybody. And I think like Jawbreaker might have played, and I think and there's like these little black and white pictures of like Arctic Monkeys, and it was a real, like, I don't know, these places need to be like registered historical landmarks. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like CBGBs and but there's I mean, I don't know if CBGBs is, but it should be. And they're all over the world, and they've just got this historical thing from music, and it just seems to get forgotten, which is such a shame.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what's in that place now? Like, I always get upset when I see like a place that we used to play, and then I'll look it up and it's now like condos.
Yeah. So you're going to laugh at this. Okay. So I went back, and there's a venue called the Hairy Dog in Derby now, and that's doing good shows and stuff. Like Bouncing Souls played, and it's still doing really well. But
nice.
It's not the Vic. It's not like that little anything goes sort of venue. And so I was like, right, I'm going to go for a beer. I'm going to go down a trip down memory lane. And I kind of went in, and I was like, oh my God, like everything's gone. Like the pub was just like a normal pub. And then I went in the back, and it's a wedding reception venue. And I was like, I mean, who the fuck wants a wedding there? There was like about 5 tables pushed together. It still smelled to piss. And, I was just thinking, I saw a man do a dump in a tea urn over there, like this is a wedding area now. So that's why that's what it is now. So saying that, if I was to get married, it might be a cool place to go,
Yeah. I think that's the right place for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's what it is now. But yeah, there's always that kind of thing in me where I'm like, maybe I could move back to Derby and start the Vic again. Maybe we could take over and make it great again. But things don't work that way.
You'd have to cancel all those wedding reservations, though.
I'd just double book. I'd get the guy back to dump in the tea urn, and then just have the wedding reception going on at the same time. Double the money, double the fun.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. When you lived in Brighton, one of my core memories of Lightyear happened in Brighton. We were staying at Buzz's house. Yeah. And y'all stopped by. Do you remember this?
I think so. I just want to say sorry before you say it.
To who? Well, to me?
It's just force of habit now. Yeah. When someone says, when I saw Lightyear, I have to say sorry in case we did something.
So I literally, I think I was really sick when this happened. So I think I was dead asleep the entire time, but I got filled in by the rest of the band later.
Okay. I don't know, because I know there was a time where we kind of teabagged a band, and I think it might have been Slow Gherkin. So I think we put our balls.
Yeah, it wasn't us.
No, it wasn't you guys. Okay, so
I can start you off.
Okay, yeah, go on then. Yeah,
you and Neil showed up, fur coats.
Yeah,
no other clothing.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. The thing is, this could have been any night.
Sure.
But I think I remember, because I think we went to a party, and and then we got a hold of some fur jackets, and did we, like, I can't remember. I seem to remember dancing or something. Were we dressed up as ladies by any chance?
I think so. I think there were some wigs and some makeup.
Yeah. So, yeah. Do we sit down and have a cup of tea and talk about the weather?
From what I remember, and there was definitely multiple times we were at Buzz's house and y'all were there. There was one time y'all were just hanging out with our singer Ryan in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And you were freestyling, and one of you just was like, "Oh, show him your strawberries." And one of you just pulled your dick out.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Jim, our drummer, could do, like, he got quite into like puppetry of the penis. I don't know if you ever saw that stuff, but yeah, and he could do like strawberries. He could do like a Big Mac. He could do the Fly. I don't know if you've ever seen the Fly. That's quite a good one.
What's the fly?
It's kind of where you like twist your balls 180, front side 180 or backside, depends, and then your balls become red, like red fly's eyes, and then your fly nose, let's call it that, sticks down the bottom. So it just looks like a fly, really, but it's probably the most impressive thing. I guess it's just a hobby, you know. Some people.
You're not going to make a living doing puppetry of the penis.
You're not going to make a living do that, but you know, yeah. Some people collect miniature figures and know everything about Harry Potter. Jim could do puppetry of the penis.
So what's the Big Mac?
The Big Mac is where it all starts with a twist. So he twists it and then kind of pushes his shaft into. It's not a shaft, is it? A floppy shaft. Into the burger buns and then squeezes the sack around each one, and then that becomes the burger. So I mean, especially with Jim, I called it a Big Mac. That's quite optimistic. I would probably say it was like a Happy Meal burger.
The really weird thing about this is that, like, Aaron, I remember Flat Planet coming home from tour and having you guys having stories about people doing puppetry of the penis.
Yeah, they called it dick tricks. This was all in this was in one specific town in Mississippi where everyone was obsessed with this. But see, you're calling it puppetry of the penis. They called it dick tricks. Yeah. I think it should just be called impressions, because that's all it is. Yeah. It's dick impressions.
Yeah. And that's a more peaceful way of saying it, doesn't it? It's like it's more respectful, and it's all about respecting the art form.
Impressions sounds like it's on the Lifetime channel, though.
Yeah, that's like, what can you make your penis look like?
Yeah.
And that's what it amounts to. Because you say puppetry, and I picture like
strings,
like like they're having like two penises having a conversation.
Yeah. I can actually picture that right now. It's a weird picture. Obviously, we know what the mouth would be.
Yeah.
I guess you could combine it. You could have like the impressions, and then there's a play.
Yeah. You could do
like a Big Mac and a fly.
Yeah. Get Shakespearean on it.
Yeah.
Get really into it.
I want to ask. So earlier you said that the nudity started as sort of a liberating way to deal with having been made fun of, and sort of like kind of almost a rebellious sort of way to answer to that, saying like, I don't care what you say, about my body. So here it is. When was the first time you did this? And can you kind of walk through the thought process and that led to it?
Yeah, it wasn't on stage. So Derby in general kind of like had a very low sort of sensitivity to, things not, like being naked and stuff. Like I remember my dad, he's from California, lives in Lake Tahoe, and I've been over to the States, and I came back, and I went to a party, like kind of almost like straight off the plane. Oh, there's a party. Let's go to it. That sort of thing.
How old are you at this point?
I think I was probably like 17.
Okay, so Lightyear doesn't exist yet, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's kind of blurry. But yeah, we just went to a party, and then someone was like, "Oh, like, dare you to run down the street naked?" And I was like, "Okay," And everyone's like, "Fuck off! You're not going to do that." Like it was the biggest thing in the world, There's no way you're going to do that. And I was like, and I did it, and everyone was like, mine was blown. It's like, oh my god, like you got naked, and then like I guess it's because it was the whole Jackass thing. Like we didn't see any of that. We were kind of like, this was before that, and it was that kind of skateboard culture where we were all skaters, and it was like, you do something, then they try and do something in a friendly way, but competitively, Yeah. And that's kind of how it was. So someone would do that, and then somebody would, burn their pubes off, and then somebody would, like took a wee on someone else, and it was, so it all just kind of escalated, so that obviously the getting naked side of it was very desensitized to everyone. So some of those shows in Derby were like the whole audience was naked sometimes, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people, including girls as well. Like there was some times where everyone was just like, fuck it, let's just get naked, and yeah, it was kind of, when you're young and you don't care, like, man, like running down a golf course naked at 18, like screaming at 2 a.m. in the morning is an amazing thing. You know what I mean? It's fucking cool, dude. And it's like, some people might not think it is, but for us, it was a really cool memory and really funny. Just like laughing where you're just completely pure, And the older you get, the harder it is to laugh, in my opinion, and the less we laugh as humans, and just that complete freedom of laughing and no responsibility and no direction, but fuck it, we're still happy, that sort of thing. And it was great.
Did you, when you were younger and you were teased or bullied, did you have like a specific feature that everyone teased, or was it just a general, they just saw you as like a kid to pick on?
So I think I spoke about this on another podcast once, but so I, not to go dead deep into it, but it's quite strange. Like I lived on a housing estate, which is like not the ghetto, but it was somewhere, of low income, like sort of state housing sort of thing. But then I went to a private school, and at the private school, because I had like a scholarship for playing rugby. And so basically everybody there would it got quite dark. So they were like burning me and electrocuting me and a lot of emotional abuse. So I would get beaten up, every day, but then I would also get picked on. So they would say, they would go, you're a Jewish fuck, you've got yellow skin, all sorts of stuff like that. So really, really nasty shit. And then basically what happened was that went on for like 3 or 4 years, where I just didn't have a friend really at all. And then this kid from Singapore was like, here's a tape, and I was like, okay, and he was a skateboarder. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try skateboarding. And I put this tape on, and on this tape, it had Gorilla Biscuits, Nirvana, and the Beastie Boys. And I don't know how it was for you guys, but as soon as I heard that distorted guitar, I was like, what the fuck is this? This is me. I'm home. It was like that sound was like, fuck, this is how I'm feeling in a musical form, like right now, right this second. And then I started like running away from the school and just skateboarding, hiding my clothes. So we go on the cross country run, like for the physical education, and I would hide my skateboard gear in a bush, and then I wouldn't come back, so my teachers would be still timing me, and I'd be off skateboarding like down in the next city and listening to punk, and so that I don't know where I would be without punk and skateboarding. So that's how I got into it, and it got me away from the bullying. And then I moved to Derby, and in Derby, I guess I was seen as almost cool. You know what I mean? It was like a complete revolution to me. It was like I was accepted in punk, and I was meeting people. And you know what? Again, it's like you see someone with like a t-shirt on, like an Asian Man t-shirt or something, and you're like, fucking hell. Back in the day, you're like, Asian Man Records, no way. And they're like, fucking hell. Or even Fat Records, when like every fucker had a Fat Records t-shirt, It was like the uniform at gigs. It was like everyone had that red Fat Records t-shirt. But if you saw somebody with that, it was expected that you would say something to them. You know what I mean? If you didn't, it would be strange. So that's what happened. I just, it pulled me out of this fucking awful place in my life where I was like the dirt, the scum and everything, into being, accepted and kind of pushing the scene, with skating and music. And then that's when I, joined Lightyear, or started Lightyear sort of thing, and with the other guys. And then I had a platform to get this angst out. I was like, I can just fucking shout and I can sing, and people will listen, and they will agree with me, and they will sing it back. And it was, the best therapy anyone could have. So it was, it was brilliant. Yeah.
When you started Lightyear in 98, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. Yeah.
So obviously punk rock affected you. When did ska become something important to you, and how did that become an element of the band?
It's weird because like I remember there was this band called Worm, okay, and I thought I had a tape, and I thought, oh my god, this band must be like on Fat Records, or they must be, on some label in the States, and they're coming over. And it was like pop punk, like Lookout pop punk. And I just thought they were the biggest thing. And then I found out they were playing our local pub, not even the Vic, somewhere smaller. And I went to see them. I had a broken leg, from skating, and they were like, "Oh, we're from Chesterfield, which is like 20 minutes away from Derby," and and they played this song, and then it was just punk, like old pop punk, and then it had a ska breakdown. You know how loads of them used to have just a ska breakdown.
Yeah,
that was it, and I just heard that ska, and I didn't know what it was, and I was like, again, it was like, that sounds fucking awesome. The way that works with the distorted guitar straight into that is just sounds, exactly how I feel. And that was the first time I heard ska, and then it moved on would be. But the strange thing is, I never got into the old ska like at that point, so anything like the Specials or any of the two-tone stuff came much later for me. So it was all the US ska and ska punk that influenced me and Lightyear early on, which is, it's that whole cycle, US UK cycle that goes round, it's that circle that keeps going.
Were there any bands that took Lightyear on tour that couldn't hang with the Shenanigans?
There's this band Link 80, No, man. No, I think this is the thing, and I think about this a lot because I'm older and more, not mature, but I can put it into context and perspective. And so I got diagnosed with ADHD like 2 years ago, and so I obviously was super fucking hyperactive as well.
Mm-hmm.
And undiagnosed, and I remember like with Mustard Plug, we were like, fucking hell, we're going on tour with Mustard Plug, and I was so excited. I was like, oh my god. And we had this meal at Exeter with them, and we all sat down at the Cavern, and Exeter Cavern are awesome, and they always give you a pizza and stuff. And I was just like, let's get fucking naked now, let's just do it, to show our appreciation. And and they were just all sitting there, and we were naked at dinner, and within an hour, just after sound check of meeting them, and and they were just like, cool, that's totally cool, that's fair enough. And so no, I don't think so. And I think that like I think it's a very, I don't know from an American perspective what that's like, but I think when you're sort of friendly afterwards, I think that's okay. I know Slow Gherkin, so it was Slow Gherkin that we kind of, I think we put our balls on their head, or they're in a sleeping bag, and this was the first night, so we were sharing somewhere, we were crashing at someone's house, and again we were like, oh, let's I think we were pretty pissed as well. I think we were pretty drunk, not pissed, angry, but drunk.
Right.
And so yeah, I think we were like trying to put our balls somewhere we shouldn't, which normally happens, and they were a bit like, okay, like it's a bit like Happy Gilmore, where Shooter McGavin goes, oh, he's watching Happy Gilmore shaking the caddy, and he's like, you're on the tour, great. I think it was a bit like that. And then the next day we kind of worked. I think we ended up snorting like ant poison as well, and I think the idea was that yeah, some guy was like, we've got some ant poison, it looked like whatever, so we're like, let's snort that as a
like, oh, cool joke. Ant poison.
Yeah, just whatever. Well, I think it was like because Ozzy Osbourne snorted ants, we thought it'd be funny to snort ant poison, And anyway, and then we went out for a run, and then I think Neil did a poo on a car. But yeah.
So wait, hold on a sec. What does it feel like after you snort ant poison?
I don't know. Didn't do anything really. Didn't do anything at all. But I'm not an ant, so
what is this, poison for ants?
Yeah, like if I was a giant ant, it'd probably fuck me. But it didn't do anything really, which was lucky. And then but then the next day, Slow Gherkin were like, they bought us a nudist magazine from the petrol station. And they just kind of put it down in our dressing room and went, oh, we picked this up for you. And they were super mellow, and also, man, it's fucking Slow Gherkin. Like we didn't actually know too much about Slow Gherkin before we went on tour with them. And then we'd heard a few songs, and we were like, man, their brass section kills it. And they mix all that ska and that almost like soul kind of thing going on as well. And then we watched them, and each night we were like, holy shit, these guys are like so good. And I think that's the thing that we never, as Lightyear, we never kind of got across truly. It was like, we were so excited to be touring with all you guys coming over. It was like, I think that's what it was. It was just like, oh my God, we fed off each show, and we took a little piece of everyone's show and put that into our music and our live thing and our drive. And again, it was like skating. It was like, if we played with somebody and we knew the night before they killed it, then we had to be as good,
right.
Out of respect sort of thing. So, it was great. But yeah, Slow Gherkin were just, like when you're on tour with someone, you're like, I'm going to watch these every night,
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen that much, but we were like, we're going to watch them every single night, and they killed it. Yeah.
Can you remember the first time nudity played a role in a Lightyear show?
Not really, no.
Was it right away?
Yeah, it was pretty early on, and I think it was kind of mixed. It might not have even been one of Lightyear. It could have been like one of our mates at the gigs and stuff. Like Derby was pretty loose, so it's almost like that probably wasn't noted because it probably was happening at a party anyway. But yeah, just shit went down all the time. Yeah, I remember that other show. What was it? It was like a venue we never used to go to, and I think it was Potshot, the Chinkies, and Capdown, and that went off, and there was just naked bodies everywhere. But that was an awesome show, man. That was, unbelievable.
When you started the band, were there other ska-punk bands in Derby?
No, man. Like when we started, I would go as far as to say there was probably like 3 ska-punk bands in the UK. So this is the timeline, like you guys are coming over, and historically, I guess that you guys, this is what we always used to think. Like you guys learnt brass in marching bands at school. Is that right in America?
I think so. Yeah.
I think fair amount. Yeah.
Okay. So in the UK, nobody played brass. Okay. So it was like, if you knew a brass player, they would not be into punk, so it just wasn't a thing. And all you guys were just coming over and just killing it on horns and just being amazing. And we didn't know anyone, so everybody, I mean, I don't really know anyone in a punk band from then that didn't learn it to play ska punk. You know what I mean? Like everybody just picked up the horn to go and play it and learn to just be in a ska punk band. Saying that's bullshit, because our sax player actually played before, so because his parents are music teachers. But pretty much everyone else, and I think there was like Lubby Nugget. There was, who else was there? That was a kind of a ska reggae band, kind of Sublime-ish. They were really good. And then, oh my God, my memory. There was a band from Leeds, really good, like Scarcore,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like I can't remember them, but they were really good. But there was a handful of bands in the UK and doing ska punk and ska really in general. So yeah, we all had to just pick that up, and it was like, the new CD would come out and we'd all sit around and listen to it, and like I guess like when we heard Turn the Radio Off, Real Big Fish, like that was, I know they're like poppy and they're huge and stuff, but when we heard that and that production and all that blew us away. We were like, holy shit, like, this is like fully produced ska punk, and that was a big change for everyone. But yeah.
Do you recall when you started to connect with or even learn about ska punk bands in other cities, like Capdown? And I'm not sure the order of things, but when you started to become aware of this larger scene?
Yeah. So we had a show. I always remember there was like 2 shows that like changed everything.
Okay, let's hear them.
Well, we went to Peterborough, and there may be 3 actually, but we went to Peterborough, which was a town very similar to Derby. It was middle, the shops in the middle of the city, one venue, not a lot going on, so the kids were bored. They wanted to do something. And Peterborough had been developing this scene where anything would go, like you could be in a metal band, or you could be in a hardcore band, or you could be in a ska band, and you would get all dayers where everybody would just be watching each other. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There wasn't any snobbery at all. And we played there, and I just expected not to kick off and not go crazy. And straight away, everybody was just going insane, and like picking us up and passing us around the room and just diving off shit. I guess like Derby, it was like a sister town to Derby. And I remember thinking, like, when I was being passed around the room, like, I could do this for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? It was like, this is the ultimate. This is the best feeling I've ever had in my life. Like, to hold that moment in my brain forever. And then we did a split CD with a band called Evil Macaroni in Peterborough, and they were like our bros, forever. And Positive Outlook Records, a record label that was just run by the kids. It had a distro on the local market. A guy called Gav spent his inheritance from his grandmother on the whole label and just set it all up. Proper hardcore DIY sort of mix with everything. And then the other one was, I think it was Bridgend in Wales, and it was in a rugby club. And again, it just kicked off, and it was like, oh my God, like, and then we started to see a few of those, but just those two shows, and maybe Thirsk as well from a band called The Write-Offs. They put us on, and it was just that, kids putting it on for kids. And I was like, oh my God, I'm smitten. This is it for me, and this is what I want to do. And they were the main shows, but again, that they changed my life really. I was just like, right, forwards, onwards, let's go.
Yeah. So when we had Sonic Boom 6 on the show, we asked them for a Lightyear story, and do you know the one that Layla gave us?
Do you know what, man? Like, I've got two kids, right? And I'm just thinking, God, they're just going to listen to this one day and just think, all Daddy used to do was like put stuff up his ass. I'm guessing it's that one, the melodica.
Yeah, you that's it. And it took her like 1 second.
Yeah. I mean, I love those guys. Like they're awesome and lovely people. And but yeah, this is the weird thing. So like, it was kind of, they played the Underworld a long time ago, and I think it was sold out. And in my head, it was perfectly okay to go on stage naked. I think I had a plastic crow like taped to my head, like one of those things that you use in shooting where they have to have like a bait. Mm-hmm. So I had a plastic crow taped to my head, I think, and then put Layla's melodica up my arse and pretend to play it. And I think in my head, I thought I might actually be able to get a note or two out of it. and now, like, I would never dream of doing that to somebody's gig. You know what I mean? It's like I would never do that. Well, I might do it to Sonic Boom 6 just for old time's sake. But I mean, it's funny because I can actually remember, like Layla's face looking at me, just like, oh my God, what are you doing? And but yeah, it was the melodica, I imagine, and I think she got rid of it, obviously.
Yeah, the thing that she seemed more upset about though was that you stretched out her favorite shirt.
Oh, I can't remember that.
I think you'd taken, like, she had some shirt that she really liked.
Oh,
and you squeezed your way into that.
Oh, okay. Well, right.
Went on stage in that and no pants with the melodica up your ass.
Oh, great. Well, I'll buy that T-shirt back and then do the melodica at their next gig, yeah?
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Okay. So we have not... So there's a lot of other bands in the UK that we have not had on the show.
Yeah.
So if, let's say we had Capdown on the show, what would be their Lightyear story?
I think us and Capdown were very different. I think we were different people as well. So I think, like, if there was, you say about a band that maybe, didn't quite gel with what we were doing like that, I think probably Capdown, just being totally honest. And rightly so. I understand why. We would be like running around, burning, our arse hair off or whatever, because we were bored, you know what I mean? And we've probably all got ADHD in that band. And they would be reading books, you know what I mean? Actually, we weren't like this all the time. We did loads of reading and stuff, but when we were really bored, we would do things like that. And I they were pretty chill guys, and lovely guys, liked to smoke weed. Oh, I don't know if I should say that, but anyway, I think that's apparent, isn't it? Because the songs say it. But but also like like again, we had huge respect for them. Like, I mean, come on, it's Capdown, and that well, the first time we saw Capdown was in Peterborough, and someone was like, you've got to check this band out. And fucking hell, man. I mean, everybody knows they were next level, and they still are. Like, when you see them, you're like, these guys kill it. Because like musically and everything, like just the whole performance is just so on point, and the kind of dancehall sort of influence and everything. I think they were sort of one of the best live bands, but also on record they were awesome. And I think they were kind of the peripheral of the scene at the end. They were trying to break out of that, and rightly so. They should have done. And but yeah, like I think that they probably didn't really gel with that. I think they thought we were being kind of laddish, but we weren't. But yeah, like I think if they came on, I don't know. I think they're quite sensible, and they will probably talk about sensible stuff, which is good. But all those bands like Adequate Seven and Five Knuckle, there was that whole scene going on in the UK, and I always wanted that to gel with the US scene as well, and get that. If all the household name bands could go over to the States and do a tour around that time, it would have been awesome, I think. But we all burnt out, we all for 300 shows a year, like there was a glass ceiling, there was that punk rock glass ceiling where you couldn't break out. It's very difficult. Like in the States, you can make a living in a punk or ska band. You know what I mean? It is possible to do that. Like there are bands that do that, whereas in the UK and Europe, it's much harder.
Was there a certain amount of competition between all the bands to get on tours, or did you really feel that?
No, I would say that like the bands that all on household name records and the bands we toured with, that was the coolest thing, man. It was like there was no competition. It was just everybody was the loveliest person. Like I don't think I went on a tour where I didn't like anyone, and also, we all stood for like, we get on stage every night and be like, right, this is about anti-racism, this is about anti-sexism, anti-homophobia. We were all on the same page. And if there was a band that had a member that wasn't, they would soon kind of be identified and shunned away. You know what I mean? So there was a few, but they weren't in the sort of, and they weren't very good, coincidentally. I mean, what's that quote? Like, if you heard that quote, I can't remember who said it. It's like, okay, great. If you like, if you're right wing, go and listen to all that really good right wing music, because there fucking isn't any. You tell me a good right wing band, there isn't any at all. So it was a bit like that.
Yeah, I think like the best case of how bad right wing music is, if you go listen to right wing rappers, like Trump rappers, that is some horrible music.
I'm totally going to do that. I mean, I hate to give them the royalties.
It's definitely good for a laugh, but it is horrible.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, isn't it? It's just does it match intelligence? You know what I mean? You got to be intelligent to write good music, I think. So there you go. I rest my case.
Here's a few notes I took about things. Okay, so we talked about nudity a bit. So let's talk about some of the other antics you guys were known for. Pirate ship prop, Morris dancing, stupid tattoos. I'm not even sure why I wrote that down. But give me some, paint a picture for me.
Well, I think when we started off, we were terrible, like we were fucking awful, and we had to play the same song twice and all sorts of stuff. So we started off, like our first gig, I stole some shoes from the skate shop I worked at, from like the big evil skate company, not like the little shop. And I gave them away on stage, and it was a bit, this is a bit of fun. And then we started to fill things out by just, I guess, doing little things like that. So at one point we had dance moves, and they were terrible as well and really cheesy, and we kind of stopped doing them after a while. But then we started doing Morris dancing, which was with the sticks and stuff.
Yeah, what is Morris dancing? I can't remember.
So Morris, it's a really weird English tradition where grown men dress up in an outfit that looks like it's made of like handkerchiefs, and tie bells to themselves and hold flags and sticks, and then like jump around, beating like a pole or something. and it's a really weird sort of, almost, I think it dates back to sort of pagan religion, and yeah, and that's kind of, we just used to laugh at it, you know. We were like, what the fuck is Morris dancing? And then we were like, oh, let's get some Morris dancing in the set. You know, imagine watching a band and they stop a song and start to Morris dance. And I guess with Lightyear, it was always like, you know, that would be funny, talk, you know, conversation, that would be a funny thing to do. And then we actually did it, you know. So that's how the Morris dancing started. And then the rocket was like, we were like, it'd be funny to go across the stage in a rocket and pretend, you know, we were like, that bit in that song sounds like it's a rocket or a canoe, and it would be cool to cut out a wooden canoe and sail across the stage. And then, but at one point we were lighting the Morris dancing sticks on fire, and then fire breathing across the stage, like two directions and stuff. And that got a bit dodgy because there was like gasoline, you know, at the side of the stage, and none of it was risk assessed. And you know, but I mean, recently I gave all our merch away on stage. I was like, fucking, I hate merch. And I was like, I hate having loads of boxes. So we dressed our guitar tech up in all of our merch, and then we threw him into the audience, and everybody had to strip him to get free t-shirts and stuff. And then we didn't have any merch for the rest of the tour, but it was worth it. So, you know, I guess just stuff like that. It was just, I think the thing is with Lightyear is that, like, these songs were coming, they were really poignant to us, you know, like they weren't comedy songs. Mm-hmm. Like, these were songs about like drug addiction and you know, like like domestic abuse and things like that. And definitely the second album was, I probably depression, you know, there's a lot of depression in there, and trying to, being depressed on tour and trying to figure your life out and stuff. And but then it was also like, well, we can actually dick around live. We can, you know, be completely stupid and enjoy this, but then we can also be singing about things that really mean something to us, you know. It doesn't have to be, it's okay to sort of laugh and have a good time, but also shout about the same way you feel, you know, if you're lost and you're, you know, that was the hardcore element for me. It was like, because hardcore had a big influence on us, and you know, that shouting it back, pointing your finger in the air, you know, that whole thing, being at a hardcore gig, that was a huge influence, and it was, that part was super important. But also, you know, it's ska, let's dick around. It doesn't have to be cool, you know what I mean? Like, that's the beauty of ska. It never was cool, and it never will be. So then you don't have to sweat it, you know, you don't have to worry because you're never going to be cool because you're in a fucking ska band and we don't give a shit, you know?
Yeah, there's two types of bands that lean into heavy performance elements. There's bands that are have very unusual music, and putting on a performance of sort like matches the strangeness of their music. But then there's bands like you guys where it's like, this is pretty straightforward music, but the live show is crazy.
Yeah.
And I always find that to be particularly interesting, because it's like, if you're just a kid and you just listen to some Lightyear,
yeah,
and you don't know anything about you guys, I don't think you would go expecting to see the show that you guys put on.
Yeah. It doesn't sound wacky.
No. And I think, and that's exactly it. Yeah. It was like, and also it was a release, you know, like I think we all had, you know, we grew up together, man. Like we grew up in a garage, you know, like together, writing together, and lost girlfriends together, and, you know, those first loves, and went through all those difficult times. And we're still best mates, you know, we're still really good mates, and you know, we're trying to get through these past difficult years, and we're trying to help each other as much as we can. And so it's like, there's that, and there's all little private jokes in the songs as well. And, you know, like Neil, you know, is up there going crazy, and then Nelb's like the backbone, but you know, it's like those little looks you give each other on stage where you kind of like, you know when something's happening, and that's the camaraderie we have. And I think that just comes out live, like any band, I guess. But again, it's a release, you know, it's releasing that anger and that frustration that you're allowed to do, like at a hardcore show. Again, the hardcore element is like, you know, people see a hardcore show and they're like, why are those dudes fighting? You know, and it's like, they're not fighting, they're releasing, you know, that this pent up frustration. And I don't mean like full on beatdown, but like good, clean, fun sort of hardcore. That sort of thing that's like posse and stuff is played a big influence on us, our live show, because it was like, come to this show, laugh, cry, release it out, have the best time of your life, get naked. It's all cool.
So a few years ago, I think I was reading several articles where there was a documentary that was in the works called "This Music Doesn't Belong to You." I'm curious about what that is and what's the status of that.
So that was a documentary about the UK scene around those years and how strong it was, and everything we've just talked about, really, and about all the like little venues, independent venues around the UK.
And these different bands that we're talking about.
Yeah. And also like, all the US bands coming over, but really focusing on the UK bands there, because no one really sounded the same. Like Five Knuckle sounded nothing like us, and Adequate Seven sounded nothing like Five Knuckle. But they were all awesome bands and awesome live. And again, the camaraderie there and everything was amazing. And so we started shooting that film, and we crowd funded it with a company called Pledge Music. And I was directing and producing or whatever, and standard punk thing. Never done it in my life, but I was like, this story needs to be told. Like this is a huge part of my life, and I want to tell people about it. And we had this really good documentary like set up, and we had meetings. We all put a lot of time into it. Started shooting it. Started doing interviews, and then. When the funding was coming through from Pledge Music, the date came and went, and so loads of people had pledged money for this, and I got no email from the company, and I was like, okay, well that's cool, maybe it'll turn up tomorrow, and then it didn't, and then like the next week, and then about a month later, I got an email from like the CEO going, sorry, like we're trying to sort this out, but it's all fine, And I was like, okay, cool. And we'd spent so much time doing this because it was, our heart and soul into it, really. And then eventually, what happened was Pledge Music went out of business, and and they took all the money. And but not just us. They took like millions of pounds worth from all global artists and films and albums and stuff. And if you Google it, it comes up with a load of stuff. And I was just devastated, man. Like I was like, oh my God, like what the fuck, like this can't happen. And then I just got an email from a lawyer saying they liquidated the company or whatever, and you are not going to get any compensation towards your project, because they did something and basically just took the money from a lot of people. So at that point, I kind of sent an email out to everyone that had supported it, and people were like, we'll pledge again, we'll do it again. But when something happens and you're kind of like, you've tried to do it so much, you lose the kind of drive. And then we started going into COVID, we were just kind of building up again, and then we went into COVID, and I was like, well, I'm not going to do a film over COVID and have all Sky fucking Zoom calls, on a documentary, because that's just weak. Like, the whole point of it was like, this is going to be an inspiring documentary for anyone. You didn't have to just be there and be interested in the scene. This one, I wanted it to be someone who had no idea what the scene was and go, shit, we could do a gig in an old abattoir, or we could set up, there's an old office down the road. We could set that, a gig up there. We just need a PA, like we don't need much. We don't need much at all. And we can start working with these agents and stuff. And that's what I wanted to do, but it's on the back burner. So
I see.
Yeah. I did a startup company during lockdown called Hawker, and it's basically digital. It's like a digital merch stand. So you go to a gig and you can like scan the QR code, and the merch turns up at your house. So bands don't have to take the merchandise on tour, and it's like 90% less energy or less water and 65% less energy. It's way better for the environment and cuts down on carbon footprints and stuff. So that's what I did during lockdown, and that's going now. So that's working really well. But the film is something.
And it's spelled, if anyone's interested, it's spelled HAWKR.
That's right. Yeah. Cheers. Cheers for that. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I've been doing during lockdown, and partnered with two guys, and so yeah, that's out and about, and but the film is on the back burner, and it's almost like I've got to get that motivation to do it again and try and look into some grants or something, some art grants. But I'll get it done, because things drive me nuts. Like it's in the back of my head. I'm like, I've got to do this, and that won't go away until I've done it. But having a family as well, it's difficult.
Yeah.
So
I want to ask about household name records. So somebody who's unfamiliar with this whole scene, can you explain who they are and the role they had in the scene?
Yeah, so they were like, I guess again, like a a small label, like Asian Man, pretty much, like in the UK. They started as like a full on hardcore and really heavy, some dark kind of bands on there, and then started to move out into just punk, and then started doing ska as well, and everything. But around that time, when they moved away from the more hardcore stuff, they started putting out a lot of bands around the UK who would tour, and bands who were a bit different, and they started to pick up, I guess, the talent around the UK. And then again, it was like they had household name records on the back of their t-shirts, and every gig had people wearing these t-shirts all around the UK. Household name records, and it was really exciting. It was a really, really cool time, and it was just like all the bands on the labels were like family, and we all toured together and saw each other hundreds of times, and it was a great community. And a lot of it was DIY, like most of it was DIY. And then we started like selling out small venues, and then we would sell out bigger venues, and then it'd be like the O2 venues, and then we started playing Reading and Leeds Festival, and this was all DIY pretty much, and I mean, I remember when we played Reading and Leeds Festival, and we didn't think anyone was going to turn up, because there was no Instagram followers, we didn't know, oh, we got 10 million, Instagram followers. We didn't know anybody would really turn up, and the tent was like over capacity, and we were like, holy shit, this is amazing. And that was because everybody who went to those gigs, would come and support those bands. So it was just a really, really great scene to be involved with, and at the time. So that's what it was really, but it was full on DIY, and bordering into the corporate music industry, and I think it dabbled in a little bit with that, but that's when things get strange, when DIY and the music industry clash, I think.
So when people talk about Specials and Madness and all these bands, it's the shorthand is two-tone ska, even though a lot of these releases were not technically on two-tone, but it sort of becomes a way to identify this time and era and the sound, even though the sound is diverse, obviously. Would you say Household Name Records is similar for that time and era for those bands? Like you could just call it the Household Name Records ska or era?
Kind of, but I don't know, because like Adequate 7, like they were like hardcore and funk, which should never be spoken in the same sentence, really, because it sounds awful. But they were incredible, like they were awesome. They were so original. And then, Five Knuckle, they were like hardcore, dark ska. And then, so I guess it was a sound in a way. I think like a lot of the same producers might have been used, but less so than two-tone, I think. I think, and this is the thing as well. And I say this before, but I feel like we're losing those. One of the exports of the UK is musical tribalism, right? So, skinheads, mods, indie kids, or like Britpop sort of thing. So all these things had a fashion. They went hand in hand. You could see somebody and they would look like that, right? So I think we're losing that as a country and almost like as a planet. You don't get that anymore. You don't get these tribes. It's just sort of multi-genre listening, which is great in a way, but I do feel like that was a bit tribal, and you would have your baggy jeans, and you would have all that, and it might have been the same in the States, probably was, and but it was belonging to something, and so I think, and that's the same with two-tone, it was like it was that tribe. You were part of something. You're part of that tribe, and it sounds really cheesy, but it was true. That's what it was like, and I feel like we don't have that as much now. I think probably rave culture. There's probably something going on there, or there might be something I don't know about, but I say that quite a lot, and it's a shame, I think.
I mean, I think the hard thing is that you've always got a youth culture that's evolving. And once we're out of that age bracket, it's hard to see into it and see what kids are getting excited about and what their new sort of tribalism is. And for us to expect them to do it the same way we did is like a lost cause.
I mean, I just picture myself like 44 standing in the middle of a rave, going, oh, wow, there is something happening. Like, what's the old dude doing there? Yeah. So it's probably happening. And, but I'm not sure it's happening in a way that, like almost has a uniform, and I'm not saying that's generally great, but, like a skinhead, would be a skinhead, you know what I mean? And a punk would be a punk and I mean, but I'm talking pop culture, so, and like we would know about it because back in those days, I'm just playing devil's advocate slightly, but like if back in those days, the grandmas would see a Mohican and they would be like, oh, bloody hell, look at that one with his Mohican, bloody hell, like, is it a boy, is it a girl, we don't know, like that's what they would say, shit like that. And so I guess we would, it's that pop culture and that fashion thing.
Yeah.
If it is, I've not noticed it. You know what I mean? In the UK, it was like that rebellion tied in with music and fashion, I suppose, and iconography and stuff. As far as I know, isn't there? I mean, you get like UK garage and going on from garage into like grime and stuff like that. And I'm, I'm not going to pretend I know anything about that, but I'm sure there's scenes like that. But in general, going into popular culture, I think it's not there. So I don't know, but yeah, maybe I'm just old and bitter.
Well, and then also, now we're the parents, or the grandparents in some cases, and we're much more accepting of seeing somebody coming down the street with a mohawk. We'll see that and be like, oh, I love that, like, and so it's no longer like an obvious symbol of like rebellion. It's just like, oh, that kid's mom probably helped him put up his mohawk because she might have had a mohawk.
Yeah, and there's probably not a lot left to do. You know what I mean? Like if you're trying to shock people, like, and also like, yeah, the internet's like, you can go and see anything insanely shocking, from any time in period history of the world and to now, like, what like shocking images are and what shocking fashion and culture is. So it all becomes like, online, doesn't it, really? So yeah, and yeah, we're more accepting, I think. Because like the 40s, I mean, and that's how punk happened, isn't it? Because it was a reaction to that like conservatism. It was like, literally two fingers up, fuck you, I'm going to do this, the complete opposite of like conservatism in the UK and stuff. So yeah, you've got to have something to backlash against, I suppose.
Yeah. I want to ask about the infamous Ice-T story. Pook told us the story.
Okay.
But we gotta hear it from the horse's mouth.
Yes.
Great work. I love your work.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, like one of the first tapes I got was Ice-T. Yeah. It was like it was one of my first things. So we were like, oh my God, we're playing on the same stage as Ice-T. Like, we're allowed to play on the same stage as Ice-T. And we, again, apologies if everyone's listening, they've heard this before, but like we never saw Lightyear as a career, so it was like, I know certain bands definitely were like, this is our career. This is, we're going to make this move and this might get us on this label. And then, we had zero interest or zero sort of like guide like that. We were just like, let's just fucking get on stage each night and play as much as we can.
Just for clarity, right? It's body count at this show.
Yeah. slightly more scary than just Ice-T. And then, so yeah, we get these ideas, and I have low spontaneity control. So it was like, do you want to get on stage, dressed as the pantomime horse? Actually, that isn't what happened. That's not true. We were like, it was at Reading, and we were like, let's go into Ice-T's dressing room, because we were like, holy shit, Ice-T is in that dressing room next door. He's fucking next door. And we're like, no way. So we sent someone to walk past, to pretend to get some water, and they came back like, yep, Ice is in the building, like this. And so we're like, right, get the horse costume. So we put the horse costume on, and then we like meandered into the dressing room dressed as the horse, and just plodded around because so the rocket that used to go across the stage, we ended up getting a pantomime horse, which is a horse outfit instead of a rocket. It evolved. And so we went into Ice-T's dressing room, and walking in like that, and Ice-T was just like chilling on his couch, and like the horse just stopped, and no one really said anything. Like, I suppose you wouldn't, you would be like, what's going on? Like, it was this moment of, one of those, that the Weaker Thans, they've got a lyric, and the pause felt like an extra year at high school. I love that lyric, and that's what it felt like. It was just this pause where like Ice-T didn't do anything, none of the crew did anything, because I don't think that what's the protocol, the tour manager's like looking at his little file of facts. What do I do? Pantomime horse. And then one of his bodyguards, we think he was a bodyguard, just went in a really like deep voice, Ice-T is not impressed. So at that point we thought, we're going to get like our heads kicked in. So we just, plodded out again. And then we so Reading and Leeds are like, they're sister festivals. One's played in the south of the UK, one's in the north. So we went to Leeds, and we played the same stage. And then we were like, do you know what would be an even better idea? Would be if we took the horse on stage with Ice. We were like, I bet he would love it. I bet he.
Really quick, Chaz. So these shows are two separate shows. How far apart are they?
Probably like 2 hours drive. No,
but like days, like
in the same time. So you play one and it alternates, and you travel up to the next one. So yeah, the lineup alternates. Gotcha. So we went up, and so. This is the weird bit, okay? This is the weird bit. So we went up to his tour manager, and we went, is it okay if we go on stage with Ice-T dressed as a horse? And we obviously thought he was going to go, you're having a laugh, like, F off. He didn't. He just went, he got on his radio, right? And he went, yeah, we've got some guys here. They want to go on stage with Ice dressed as a horse. And I remember like looking at Neil, and Neil always does this look when we're going to get in trouble, like where he bites his bottom lip. He's like, like a school kid. And I'm like looking at him, he's looking at me, and I'm like, okay. And he went, yeah, that's fine, guys. Yeah, that's fine. And we were like, what? Like, I mean, afterwards I became a tour manager, and like ended up touring, like some big bands and stuff. And like, I always wonder who he radioed. You know what I mean? Because like,
he didn't radio Ice-T.
Yeah, exactly. He's the tour manager. Do you know what I mean? Like, you kind of make those calls. So I have no idea who he radioed. Maybe the god of horses, and he's bound to say yes. And so we got in the horse outfit, and there was a kind of a breakdown, middle late in a song, and we thought this is the ideal time to go on, because pantomime horses in the UK, I don't know if you guys know, but a pantomime is where it's like a thing at Christmas, a play where everyone dresses up, all the men dress up as women, and they have like weird outfits, and there's like traditional stories and stuff, and there's always a horse on it. So that's where we got that idea from.
Yeah, and it's two people.
It's
right?
2 people. Yeah, it's really cheap. It looks bloody awful. And so we went on, in this breakdown, and I remember like looking through this flap. Firstly, I remember thinking, God, Neil's arse stinks, right? And then secondly, I remember looking through like the peep flap, right? And just seeing the bass player turn round, and he looked scary. Do you know what I mean? He looked like he was in a gang. I mean, I'm not stereotyping, but he did, and he probably was at one point. You know, like he was fucking scary, and he just like looked at the horse, and at that point, I thought, shit, like we're on the middle of the stage now. And then Ice just turned around and he just looked at us, and he went, "Who are these jackasses? They're gonna go home in a body bag." and then it all kicked off, and it all went wrong from then on, and people running on stage and like pulling us off, and I was like, oh, like I thought they would have figured out that you know, this wasn't a good idea, and then the TM was like radioing like security, and all the security guards were trying to pull the horse outfit off us. All the other bands on our label, I think, got their passes taken off them. There was like radios to all the security. So me and Neil were like, fucking, let's leg it, let's run, you know, like Ice is gonna get us, you know what I mean? Like, so we ran off stage, and as soon as we ran off stage, well, a bit down the field, this Lexus pulls up, and do you know Dizzy Rascal? Yeah. So Dizzy Rascal pulls up in a Lexus, and Neil's like, "Dizzy, Ice-T's gonna kill us. Like, can we hang out with with you?" And Dizzy Rascal was like, "No, bruv. Like, I don't know who you are. Like, there's no way you're gonna hang out with me." So we kind of just like, okay, let's keep going. So we just kept running, and then we got to Dizzy's stage because he was about to go on, and so we ran across his stage, past all the texts, like stage right, and hid behind an amp, and he came on, and then no one knew where we were, and no one could see us. So we ended up just watching Dizzy Rascal play on stage, and then we evaporated into the night, and we got away with it, but we didn't get asked back.
So have you ever spoken to Ice-T, or know someone who's spoken to him about this incident?
No, but I sent him a message on Instagram, and he read it. Okay. And I like to think it was him and not part of his team. And he didn't say anything. And then we posted something from the Lightyear account, and he liked it. And that was like a huge thing for me.
So what did you say at /post?
I think it was just like, oh, once we got on stage with Ice-T dressed as a horse or something like that, and tagged him in it, and he just liked it. So,
okay,
you know, I like to think he's just sitting there with like a couple of shotguns, you know, in his mansion in LA, and he's like, I remember those fuckers. Yeah, like, ting.
So maybe he's amused now.
Yeah. I think like, you know, when you've been in a film, when you come from where Ice-T did and stuff, and the life he lived, when you star in a film called Leprechaun in the Hood, you kind of lose that edge. You know, you kind of lose the edge, and it kind of like you know, he did become slightly comical version of himself. You know, like he played a policeman in a few things, and like. And I think he knows that, and I think he's you know, not that I'm some sort of psychoanalyst, but you know, I think he is a little bit like that, and I think even what happened, he was kind of like, yeah, whatever, you know, like shit like that. It's always people's crew, isn't it, that goes crazy because they're like, my job's on the line, you know, like fucking hell, we better do this, we better act really serious, and we better, instead of just kind of going, waiting for the horse to come off stage, which would have had far less impact. There was loads of security coming on. Do you know what I mean? So it just added to the ridiculousness of the scene. So yeah, I think I like to think it was all tongue in cheek, and but it was fun, man. Do you know what I mean? Like it was a really good memory.
The body count era for Ice-T was probably the most scrutiny he's ever gotten.
Yeah.
In his career, and that's, you know, including his early gangster rap stuff because of the song, the Cop Killer song.
Yeah.
So I wonder what his state of mind was like at that point, and then to have sort of this absurdist fucking with him moment in the middle of everyone, you know.
Well, he probably thought, well, things could be worse. I could be in that band, you know. Things could be a lot worse. I could, yeah. So, yeah, and there was all sorts of shit we did like that, but it was all, it was all fun. Like I heard stories of Madness. I think Madness once locked Elton John in a porter cabin in a portaloo before he got on stage. They used to do shit like that.
So you're in the tradition of good ska bands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just having fun,
I remember you guys getting banned from another venue.
Yeah, the Cavern.
Yeah, not the Exeter one, but the Liverpool one.
Yeah, the Beatles. Yeah. Were you guys there?
Yeah, it was during our set.
Oh, fucking hell!
Do you remember what happened?
Sorry, again. Yeah, I do remember. The funny thing is, I was born in Liverpool, and my mum was in the first 100 of the Beatles fans.
Wow!
And used to go to the Cavern as a teenager and saw the Beatles. So again, it was purely out of respect. But yeah, I remember. I thought it was Capdown, but no, it was us, you, and Capdown, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Okay. Yeah, there was a big cardboard sort of effigy of what's his name?
Paul McCartney.
That's the one. That little known rock star, Paul McCartney.
maybe you've heard of him.
Yeah, and he was in the dressing room, and to be honest, I did find it a little bit cheesy. I was a bit like, all praise be to Paul. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It was all. I was a bit. Oh, that's a bit annoying.
Well, and it was all tagged up too. Like, has it been put backstage and like?
Yeah,
all the walls in a backstage dressing room get hit with like a ton of graffiti.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like his teeth had been like blacked out, and I think he had like an eye patch.
Yeah, it was fair game, like,
yeah.
And I could just tell he was dying to get on stage. So, like, and it was a weird gig though, wasn't it? Because it was like, it wasn't a normal gig. What you would do is, if I remember, you would play and then tourists would come in and watch you play because it was the Cavern. And then I think it was 2 sets. Was that right? Do you remember that?
I think that sounds right.
And
it wasn't on the actual stage either that the Beatles played on. That
it was around the corner, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, they'd built out the back of the venue, so there was now like a modern stage.
Yeah, so basically, Paul was backstage, kind of going, "Hey, you're not on the right stage." You know what I mean? He was rubbing it in. He made me do it pretty much. So yeah, and I think I just remember like there was like tourists coming in and. But yeah, we took Paul from the wall. We took Paul from the wall.
Well, and also it wasn't like a cardboard cutout. It was like a big poster that had been like adhered to a piece of like drywall, basically.
Yeah,
and it was big. It was like
it was
6 foot by 4 foot.
Yeah, it was like life size kind of big, wasn't it? It was huge, like,
and it was permanently attached to the wall.
Yeah, I mean, this is pissing me off even talking about it. This is giving me like PTSD. I'm like, fuck that poor guy. No, I like the Beatles really, but yeah, and we just decided to take that off the wall, and we kind of took it off. I suppose we had to rip it off, I think.
Yeah,
and we ripped it off the wall, and then I seem to remember like taking it on stage when you were playing, and then did we like pretend to have sex with it?
Probably.
Yeah, I can't remember.
The main thing I remember is that we're playing like a breakdown at the end of our set.
Okay.
Like it's like a 30-second breakdown at the end of the set.
Yeah.
And so it's getting all heavy, and 3 of you come running out naked, except for maybe shoes, of course.
Yeah.
And then Paul gets, I think, kind of there, you guys are like pretending to, have sex with it.
Mm.
And then it gets leaned against the bass drum.
Right.
And you guys are jumping off of something and like body slamming.
Oh, wow. Wow. I've got a blank there.
And it was, and I remember it was like drywall because there's bits of like plaster and like the dust like flying up.
Yeah. It's really weird because I can't remember doing like the body slams, but I can remember what it was made of when it cracked. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I can actually see that in my head, but but can't remember doing the body slams. But
I just remember all your knees and elbows
Yeah.
and shins getting all cut up from this stuff.
Yeah, and I can
And
remember
so you
like,
guys are naked with like blood streaming.
well, yeah, I mean, yeah, that like I remember like the look on, I think it was Boob from Capdown's face when we went backstage afterwards, and he was just staring at me like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, like what are you guys on? Like, yeah. It was almost like we had no sort of conception of sort of what else was happening in the room, you know? Like,
Sure.
like, you know, like, oh, it's fine to go on Linkate's set and just fucking, you know, pretend to have sex with a British icon, you know, like,
Yeah.
in front of people. But yeah,
I mean the funny thing to me is that we didn't stop.
No.
Like, we finished the song.
Yeah, I think you were probably used to it by then. You were just like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, it's just like, you just ignore them; they'll go away. Just pretend it's not happening. But we toured with Jackass, and my mates have heard all these stories loads of times. But we toured with Jackass, and that got really gnarly. Like we were literally covered in blood every night, and people were like throwing pound coins at us, and all sorts of stuff. Like, and every band like basically left after one gig, and then we got thrown off after 3. And basically every night we would just, it was like war, you know.
Yeah.
We were getting like piss thrown at us, we were getting shit thrown at us, we were getting you know, like pound coins like were cutting us, and like, but the irony was we were so skint, we didn't have much money, we were picking up the money off the floor.
Sure.
To go and spend the next day on some food, you know, like, but then the final one, we bought like super soakers, you know, like massive water pistols, and basically like pissed in them. And then we prepared, we got eggs and we got flour and we got everything. And I came out on stage and I went, okay, I know what you're going to do, so just do it like that. And we just stood there and they just threw everything at us. And then I was like, okay, now it's our turn. And we just we just started playing, and we just sprayed like everybody with piss and beer and eggs and flour, and like Ryan Dunn was filming us and going like, yeah, this is awesome, this is the band, you know, this is who we want to be on tour with. And then we thought, you know, yeah, we still came off bleeding and stuff, but we thought, okay, you know, we've done good here. Like, and the tour manager came in, and we thought he was going to be stoked. You know, we thought he's going to be like, oh, you guys killed it, well done. And he was like, get back on that stage and clean up your mess now, or you're off the fucking tour. And we were like, well, we're not going to do it if you talk to us like that. Why? What's the problem? He's like, all the flour and the eggs is congealing over the monitors with the beer, and it's making like a cake, like a monitor cake, you know. And he's like, you're off the tour. You're going to be off the tour. And Neil just went, fucking kick us off then, you know, like just don't call us a dick, you know, just talk to us nicely and we'll go and do it. And he just went, you're off the tour, like this. And then so we got kicked off the tour and we had to leave. And then no other band went on tour after that. They didn't have any support.
but you didn't have to go clean up the monitor cakes.
No, we weren't going to clean it up if someone talked to us like a prick. You know what I mean? Like we would have done if the guy was just like polite, but the guy was a dick. You know what I mean? And you know, you talk to people with respect, don't you? If you want them to do something, you don't. And I saw him years later. And he was TMing Alkaline Trio, I think, and I'd gone to see them, and afterwards I was like, hey man, he was called Dick as well, I think, and I was like, you're Dick, aren't you? And he's like, oh yeah, how's it going, man? Yeah, didn't you leave the tour? I was like, you kicked us off, you know. And he's like, oh, that's a shame, isn't it? And I was like, yeah. And then I was just like, actually, fuck it. I was like, you're a fucking penis, you know. I was like, I don't need to be nice to you anymore, and he was, you know, and then I just left. So I got my revenge in a way. So, but you know, just one of those tour managers. Again, it's where the crew, you know, are assholes and the band aren't. You know,
sure.
Not all crew, but there are some. Obviously, loads of awesome crew and awesome tour managers. But there's also real cocks of tour managers out there.
Thank you so much for listening to In Defense of Ska. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you normally stream or download episodes. If you haven't already, grab a copy of my book, In Defense of Ska, available at clashbooks.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. It's at In Defense of Ska. And please consider joining our Patreon at patreon.com/In Defense of Ska. You will get monthly bonus episodes, extended interviews and commentary per episode, and access to the In Defense of Ska Discord. In Defense of Ska would not be possible without the great team that tirelessly works on it every week. So you should go check out their other projects as well. Co-host Adam Davis has an amazing band called Omnigon. Give them a follow on Instagram and Twitter. It's simply at Omnigon. And our editor, Chris Reeves, has a phenomenal record label and podcast called Ska-Punk International. For more information, go to skapunkinternational.com. And if you've ever enjoyed one of the highly specific In Defense of Ska memes floating around the interwebs, it was likely the work of The Bands I Like Only Charge $18. Find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And on that note, we leave you by saying, Ska now more than ever.
Okay, you're still here after the sign-off. You want more? We have more. Over on our Patreon, we have so much bonus content. Listen, if you're looking for more In Defense of Ska, if you're looking for some behind-the-scenes moments, if you're looking for just Aaron and I talking to each other, for only $5 a month, you can get that. So why don't you head over to our Patreon and subscribe? We really appreciate it. Thanks.